My name is Dr. Aming'a. I'm a faculty at the Strathmore University Business School in the areas of supply chain, operations, logistics, procurement, sustainable supply chain, resilient supply chain, with the integration of circular economy into supply chain operations. I'm also a co-academic program lead for the Bachelor of Science in Supply Chain and Operations Management. We are living in very interesting times. The 21st century is an interesting century, from so many fronts. But if I may speak from a disruption point of view, most of the impact of businesses and supply chains. In the recent past, we've seen many disruptions within the supply chain space and also the business space. But again, as the human race of the 20th and 21st centuries, we continue to experience intensity of these disruptions, such as climate change, geopolitical tensions that really affect supply chain operations and business operations. According to a 2025 Gartner report, it says that when we are looking into the future, based on these disruptions, supply chains are going to be impacted massively. And that means supply chains need to strategically position themselves to prepare for the future. And the Gartner report 2025 says that only 29% of supply chain organizations are ready for the future. When we look into global and giant logistic firms, DHL tells us that the greatest risk affecting supply chains are climate change and also geopolitical tensions. But also, from a 2025 Global Cyber Security Outlook report, we are told that there's a 38% increase in cyber security attacks through supply chains. So that means if supply chains need to prepare for the future, they need to strategically reposition their supply networks through 5 key areas. That is number 1, customer centricity, number 2, sustainability, then of course supply chain resilience, talent incubation, and amplified intelligence. From a customer centricity perspective, today's customers are not patient. They want their products, their services, their works delivered at the click of the mouse. So that means then supply chains need to leverage on practices like drop shipping to enhance the customer experience, leverage on optimizing last mile delivery excellence to enhance the customer experience. From a sustainability perspective, there's a radical shift in sustainability. You're seeing many laws coming up. There's pressure from both stakeholders and also regulators. Some of the laws are like the European Supply Chain Due Diligence Act coming up, and you're seeing many laws within the circular economy space, such as extended producer responsibility, more so for the Kenyan market and other markets across the world. So what this means to the supply chains then is supply chains need to address challenges relating to sustainability. For example, we are seeing a lot of information about leakages on chemicals of concern across supply chains. And there is a lot of chemical opacity across supply chains. Supply chains of the future can't afford to ignore sustainability, and here they need to leverage on principles based on the upcoming laws, such as supply chain due diligence, such as extended producer responsibility, and also leveraging on broader circular economy practices through life cycle assessment and material flow analysis. But also with the disruptions that are ongoing, we notice that the world we live at is quite uncertain. And so that means supply chains need to build their resilience and foster ruthless resilience. And in the past, we've seen, as we talk about supply chain resilience, majority of organizations are only looking at the granular level without considering ecosystem resilience across all nodes of supply chains. And from a resilience perspective, we are seeing climate challenges and also cyber attack threats related to supply chains. And their supply chains need to build manufacturing capabilities or manufacturing clusters across different regions, diversify their sourcing models, build stronger distribution networks, and also strengthen their cybersecurity resilience through advanced monitoring practices and such advanced level security advancements to ensure that they strengthen their cyber security resilience. Supply chains also need to be at the forefront of talent incubation. When we look at the current statistics, we still see there's a talent shortage, a talent scarcity in supply chain skills. And these shortages are across the areas of sustainability with integration to supply chain, technology with integration to supply chain, and resilience with integration to supply chain. We are seeing majority of companies nowadays coming up with roles such as supply chain resilience specialist, supply chain sustainability specialist, but the supply chain arena doesn't have these specialists to give these companies. So then, companies within the supply chain space, within the logistics space, within the operations and also procurement space need to come up with ways to partner with universities to foster clear talent pipelines, to foster talent incubation as a way of securing the supply chain workforce of the future. But again, supply chains also need to amplify their intelligence, what I'd like to call the quadruple intelligence. Here, supply chains need to leverage on the combination of digital intelligence, biomimetic intelligence, human intelligence, and also ancestral intelligence. From a digital intelligence perspective, supply chains need to leverage on artificial intelligence, for example, in their demand forecasting by optimizing AI-driven predictive analytics so that they boost their demand forecasting. From a biomimetic intelligence, there's a lot of lessons we can draw from nature. And some of these lessons we draw from the things around nature. It could be the bees, how they do their things. It could be the grass, how it grows. For example, supply chains need to leverage on the bee model, whereby they need to mimic how bees forage and communicate to each other to find efficient paths to get the flowers. Supply chains can also leverage on these kind of models so that they can be able to find efficient and best distribution networks in terms of how to get the fastest route possible, the efficient route possible, adapting to disruptions and also demand. But from a human intelligence perspective, supply chains also need to learn that the greatest challenge supply chains are facing in this 21st century is lack of information sharing across supply chain partners. So supply chains need to leverage on collaborative information sharing so that this information are shared accurately and perfectly across the different nodes of the supply chain, leading to top-notch supply chain performance. But also, supply chains need to leverage on ancestral intelligence. There's quite a lot of misalignment or lack of integration of ancestral knowledge into the current practices of supply chains. For instance, like training farmers on how to do crop rotation, intercropping, so that they can be able to boost the soil fertility to enhance food security within our economies. So I think, like Napoleon once said, amateurs discuss strategy, but professionals discuss logistics. But when it comes to winning in crises, then supply chain managers need both strategy and logistics. And that means, as Tom Peters once said, to win in war, you need both toilet paper and bullets at the right time and at the right place. So supply chains of the future need to leverage on customer centricity, need to leverage on sustainability, resilience, talent incubation, and amplified intelligence.